Romance scams that are centered around cryptocurrency.
One local woman says she lost millions to a man who befriended her on an app. The I-Team's chief investigator, Cheryl Fiandaca, talked to the woman who says she wants to warn other people about scammers.
He said his name was Jimmy, handsome, young, and in the U.S. alone. Last October, Cindy Tsai says he accidentally messaged her on WhatsApp.
Are you Linda from the pet store? And I messaged back and said, wrong number.
That seemingly innocent exchange quickly escalated into Cindy sharing personal information, including her cancer diagnosis.
Very much a comfort for me at that time, because it was just a month ago that I found that I had incurable cancer, and then also going through a divorce at that time. So yes, it was a relationship, I would say. In my mind, it was a relationship.
Within weeks, Jimmy showed Cindy how much money he was making trading in cryptocurrency and offered to help her invest on the platform he was using.
And I basically said, look, I don't need a financial advisor. I am not giving you a dime. So he came back and said, you're not giving me a dime. This is completely controlled by you. That's when it piqued my interest.
Jimmy gave her a link, and Cindy set up the account.
And they'll click on those hyperlinks. It will take them to a site that is either spoofed or very close to the legitimate site. They've become very sophisticated at making these websites look real when they're not.
What was the total amount you invested?
Everything said and done, $2.5 million.
All of that money now gone. The FBI estimates in 2021, 24,000 people fell victim to these type of scams, losing about $1 billion.
Before the events that would later reshape her life, Cindy lived with a sense of stability built over many years. She was an adult professional who had spent decades working, planning, and managing her finances carefully. Her savings were not speculative or excessive, but money intended to support the years ahead. At the time, she was navigating significant personal changes, including a recent divorce. She was also coping with a serious medical diagnosis that had altered her sense of certainty about the future. Daily life had become quieter, more isolated, and more inward-looking. Like many people in similar circumstances, she relied on routine, familiarity, and online communication to stay connected. There was no indication that she was seeking risk or unusual financial opportunities. Her financial history reflected caution rather than impulsiveness. The stability she had built over time appeared sufficient for what she believed lay ahead. The first contact came in a way that did not immediately raise concern. It arrived as a message on a commonly used messaging application. The sender claimed the message had been sent by accident. The explanation seemed ordinary and unthreatening. The man introduced himself as Jimmy. He described himself as living in the United States and presented himself as approachable and polite. The interaction did not begin with money or investment. It began as conversation. The exchange continued casually, without pressure. Over time, messages became more frequent. The tone shifted from polite to familiar. The communication began to resemble friendship rather than a random encounter. As conversations continued, personal details were shared gradually. Cindy spoke about her life, including her health struggles. She had recently learned she had incurable cancer. She was also dealing with the emotional weight of divorce. The messages became a source of comfort during a period of vulnerability. She later described the connection as feeling like a relationship. The interaction filled emotional space during a time of isolation. There was no immediate request for money. There was no overt sales pitch. The pace appeared natural. Jimmy spoke often about his own life. He presented himself as financially successful. He mentioned involvement in cryptocurrency trading. He shared screenshots and descriptions showing apparent profits. These images appeared to show active trading platforms and growing balances. He framed the activity as routine and accessible. He did not initially ask her to send funds. Instead, he spoke about opportunity in general terms. He suggested that financial independence was achievable through careful participation. This framing made the topic seem informational rather than solicitous. When the idea of investing first arose, Cindy expressed hesitation. She stated clearly that she was not giving him money. He responded by saying she would not be giving him anything. He said the account would be under her control. He emphasized that she would manage it herself. This reassurance reduced immediate concern. The suggestion was framed as guidance rather than a transfer of control. That distinction mattered to her decision-making. It aligned with her understanding of legitimate online financial platforms. He then provided a link to what appeared to be a trading website. The site closely resembled legitimate cryptocurrency platforms. Its design looked professional and convincing. According to investigators, such sites are often sophisticated replicas. They mimic the layout, language, and functions of real services. Cindy followed the link and created an account. The process appeared standard and familiar. There were dashboards, balances, and transaction histories. Nothing immediately suggested fraud. Once the account was active, activity began to appear on the screen. The displayed balance increased. The interface showed what looked like successful trades. Numbers moved in a way that suggested profits were accumulating. This visual feedback reinforced the belief that the system was working. At this stage, she believed she was observing her own funds grow. She did not believe she was sending money away. She believed she was participating in an investment process. The escalation came gradually. The amounts discussed became larger over time. Each step was framed as part of maintaining or unlocking gains. When concerns arose, explanations followed quickly. The language focused on resolving temporary issues. Problems were described as technical or procedural. The tone suggested urgency without overt threats. The implication was that delay could cause loss. Action was presented as the safer choice. Communication became more frequent. Messages arrived repeatedly. Calls reinforced the same explanations. The repetition created pressure without explicit coercion. Cindy was led to believe that inaction would result in losing what she already had. This framing shifted the situation psychologically. The question became how to protect what appeared to exist. The fear was not of sending money, but of losing it. At different points, she was guided through steps to move funds. These steps were presented as standard procedures. She was coached on how to complete transactions. She was told what to say if questioned. The transfers were described as necessary to stabilize or release funds. Each action was framed as temporary. Each step promised resolution. The process unfolded over time, rather than in a single moment. According to her account, the total amount involved eventually reached approximately $2.5 million. The money represented years of savings. It was not income from speculation or recent windfalls. It reflected long-term financial planning. As the transactions continued, the on-screen balances still appeared active. The system continued to show activity. There was no immediate indication that funds were irretrievable. Doubts emerged when she attempted to withdraw money. The process did not work as expected. Requests were delayed or blocked. Additional explanations were provided. New requirements were introduced. The logic became increasingly circular. At that point, suspicion began to surface. She realized the situation was no longer consistent with legitimate financial platforms. The realization did not arrive suddenly. It came through resistance and inconsistency. The promised access did not materialize. Communication became less clear. Eventually, it became evident that the money was gone. There was no mechanism to retrieve it. The platform no longer functioned as promised. The emotional impact was significant. She described feelings of disbelief. There was a sense of violation. There was also shame, despite her professional background. She later said she recognized warning signs in hindsight. She acknowledged seeing red flags. At the time, those signs were overshadowed by emotional vulnerability. She said she wanted to believe the relationship was real. Cindy later came forward publicly to describe what happened. She said she wanted others to understand how easily it can happen. She reported the loss to the FBI. Federal authorities have documented similar cases nationwide. According to estimates, tens of thousands of people have been affected by comparable schemes. Losses across such cases have reached into the billions of dollars. Investigators explain that cryptocurrency scams operate differently from traditional fraud. When access to a digital wallet or private key is provided, funds can be moved instantly. There is no standard clearing delay. Transactions are difficult to reverse. Tracking the destination can be complex. Jurisdictional boundaries often complicate enforcement. Recovery is rare once transfers are completed. Experts note that fraudulent platforms are increasingly sophisticated. They are designed to look nearly identical to legitimate services. Visual authenticity plays a central role. The interfaces are meant to reassure users. The illusion of control is a critical element. Cindy eventually connected with victim support networks. These groups describe patterns seen across many cases. They report that scammers identify emotional vulnerability. They exploit moments of isolation or stress. They adapt their approach based on personal disclosures. The process is described as methodical rather than impulsive. She has said that coming forward was difficult. She understood how the story might be perceived. Despite that, she chose to speak publicly. Her goal was to contribute to awareness. She wanted others to understand how easily trust can be manipulated. Institutions involved in such cases often respond within narrow frameworks. Banks may classify transactions as authorized if the account holder initiated them. That classification can limit reimbursement. Law enforcement agencies may document the case but face jurisdictional limits. Digital platforms may remove accounts but cannot restore losses. Each part of the system operates under separate rules. Legal experts describe this area as unsettled. Responsibility is divided among individuals, platforms, and institutions. Courts have not reached uniform conclusions. Some cases lead to civil action, others end without resolution. The legal boundaries continue to evolve. For Cindy, the outcome remains permanent. The financial loss cannot be undone. The experience altered her sense of security. Trust, once routine, became fragile. The impact extended beyond money. It affected how she relates to communication itself. Her case reflects a broader pattern affecting ordinary people. These are not isolated incidents. They occur across age groups and backgrounds. They often begin quietly. They unfold through ordinary tools used every day. They rely on familiarity rather than force. The story ends without a clear resolution. There is no recovery of funds. There is no single point of accountability. What remains is a record of how trust was built and then misused. It is a reminder of how easily routine interactions can change direction, and it leaves open questions about how systems respond when harm occurs quietly, one message at a time.